The 2024 season of the RMB Starlight Classics opens with the first of this year's outdoor concerts. The event will be hosted on the 1st and 2nd of March 2024 at the Vergelegen Wine Farm in Somerset West. A number of local and internationally acclaimed artists are expected to feature in the event. Joining us now is Caroline Waterhouse from Rand Merchant Bank. Caroline, a pleasure to have you in studio this afternoon. Firstly, tell us what inspired the RMB to really create the Starlight Classics event, and what impact has it had on the arts industry?
Well, it was started actually in March 1998,
yeah.
And the orchestra, it was the SABC orchestra at the time, had folded, and in fact there were other orchestras looking for work, and they approached one of our founders, Larry Dippedow, and said, could you fund us? And he said, no, let's create some work for you. And we decided to have an outdoor concert. It was at Johannesburg Country Club in their big gardens, yeah. Auckland Park. And we thought, well, music, we love sport, yeah. But the difference is with music, no side goes home having lost. So we tried it, and we got a number of artists together. Richard Koch was there right from the start, very much a founder of Starlight Classics. And we were just amazed at how many people came along and that international language that is music. And so it was started really to assist an orchestra and to assist them by sort of monetizing their talent as opposed to literally a donation or a sponsorship. And we then did it in Durban, we did it in Cape Town, and it's become a biannual event now. We do it in Johannesburg and Cape Town. Right. We do it Cape Town in March, Joburg in September. But it's also a huge variety of music, everything from sort of Afro, soul, R&B, classical. We always have tenors and sopranos, baritones. We have choirs from... We try and very, very hard to have all of the performers from South Africa and Africa. We occasionally bring in somebody, or if there's somebody around who's international, we've asked them before to put Starlight into their trip. But what we also love doing is bringing accomplished South Africans home. So just to give you one example, in 2010, it was in Cape Town when the World Cup was on. We sort of said, let's get 20 tenors. And, there's such a richness of talent in this country, and the musicality, and from the, Istratamir, there's just, it's culturally just so strong. I always think of musical and visual arts as well. It's almost South Africa's calling card in terms of overseas talent. And we put 20 tenors together, and these 20 men went on to sing for 2 seasons of Starlight. And of those 20 men, 11 of them have very real careers in Europe today.
Wow. A
lot of them are principal singers of European opera houses. Sonny Boyd Ludlove has come home. There are many of the guys we've brought home over the years. So if they're available, we also ask them to come home and sing at Starlight.
You speak about the highlights in 2010, but
yes.
This is an event that's been happening for 25 years now, and I'm sure there have been a number of highlights. Give us a sense of what other experiences you've encountered during the years, and also what audiences can expect this time around.
With pleasure. In fact, it'll be 25 years in September when Starlight comes to Johannesburg. Look, a very recent highlight was Lera, who, as you know, had a stroke and took a long time to work her way back to coming on stage. And she was a client of RMB Private Bank, and she and her parents came along as clients to Starlight. And, we literally said to her, if you felt you wanted to get up and sing, you'd be very welcome to, because they were singing a song that she had sung before. And then, on that day, she said, I think I possibly could. I will if I can. And the folk on stage asked her and said, would you like to come up? And she got up and she sang, and there wasn't a dry eye out of the 4,000 people who were there. So it's 3,500, 4,000 people a night, and it's for 2 or 3 nights. So that was a very recent highlight. There have been many more. There were 10 tenors very recently during COVID. These incredibly talented people didn't find work. So again, we said, well, let's put you together. Let's come onto the Starlight stage, which we did. And then we went on to run a show for them, with them, at Monte Cassino and at the Theatre on the Bay in Cape Town. They're all people who have huge musicality. They have studied it. But it's not about the lack of talent, or it's about a lack of opportunity. And really, it's wonderful helping talented people, but I think the real trick You know, if you're helping an artist, you want that red soul sticker on the piece of art. And with music, we want them to be on a stage, doing what they do best and earning well.
Let's speak about that. I mean, you mentioned how the show itself features even genres like Istratamia, for instance.
Yes, we have that over time. That'll be Lady Smith.
Going into that, how does RMB then ensure that you showcase a diverse pool of artists and also diverse styles or genres of music or dance, while also ensuring that the event itself showcases a high standard of performances?
Well, we call it RMB Starlight Classics. So classics doesn't necessarily mean it's all classical.
Right.
So they're classics that would come from Johnny Clegg. I mean, he was one of the performers. And in fact, Jesse Clegg, recently his son performed, and that was rather wonderful as well. So we make sure that there is a strong classical component, and that would invariably be a soprano, Khoitsimang this year, and Lunga, both of whom have worked overseas extensively, and Khoitsimang's back in South Africa, and we're bringing Lunga home. So we have that. We always have a full orchestra. And we call it Afro-symphonic, because what we will do sometimes is change the words in the song to the vernacular. Or we will, every time we always re-orchestrate. And by re-orchestrating, you can get a lot, you can even introduce indigenous, musical instruments. And we've done that before. So with the Afro-symphonic mix, it's extraordinary how the sound is new, and it's also nostalgic, and it's also different and African and memorable. So we've got a very good director, Darren Hayward. We've had different directors over time. He's been with us for a long time. And you've got Richard Koch with all of his musicality. And we work closely with the artists. We work with their agents. Zolani, who's going to be on now, she used to be Freshly Ground. She was on the show with Freshly Ground. Now she is the one who sings. I think that's even the name. Her name, I think, means the one who sings.
Oh, yes.
But Zolani is going to come on and do a little Freshly Ground number, as well as a new piece.
Wow.
So it's not that difficult because, we've had jazz. We're interested in jazz. We sponsored a book on the history of South African jazz. So I just think the richness of choice makes it pretty easy to put together a diverse program. But, we rehearse and we expect the best. And if somebody lets the side down when we have the dress rehearsal, we may have to cut that piece. So there's pressure to perform. And we then film it. And we put it on YouTube. So we've got about 65 pieces on YouTube.
Wow.
I mean, Zahara, when she tragically passed away, we had a wonderful piece of hers. And we were able to pull that up and put it out for everyone to see. So it's always there on YouTube, but sometimes you have to bring it forward, with a sincere note of condolence. But we had so much feedback with people saying, gosh, it's amazing that this was captured forever. So that's what we try and do, is film it, make sure that we also give it back to the artists. So they may never have sung with an orchestra. A lot of people can't, because a 55-piece orchestra is a very expensive thing to put together. And as you know, there are very many. This particular Starlight, it's the Cape Town Philharmonic Orchestra. We have also used freelance orchestras before, the Festival Orchestra in Johannesburg. But again, everyone gets, if it's the Drakensberg Boys Choir, they get their pieces packaged, filmed, edited, and they're able to use it for marketing. So we try to sort of complete the circle, and everyone should win a bit.
And speaking about everybody winning, I mean, I've interviewed a number of artists on this and other platforms as well, who've spoken about how the arts have been severely impacted, especially in the advent of COVID-19. Let's speak about RMB's role, especially in nurturing and creating such spaces. How is it contributing to the growth of the arts as well through initiatives or events like this?
Well, we take it very seriously at a number of levels. So we've got a new art fair called RMB Latitudes. Now that happens at Chepstow Gardens.
Oh, lovely.
So we try not to have everything in Sandton. We're saying let's go to where the artists are, and that's a lot closer to the artists. And last year we managed to get 7,000 people over Louis Botha to Chepstow Gardens over 5 days. And so many people commented and said this is what makes Johannesburg so special. It was the vibe, it was the creativity, it was the location had a lot to do with it. So back to your question, we're involved in the visual arts. We have an extraordinary collection at RMB. but the three founders of RMB, with Larry Dippenaar, Paul Harris and G.T. Ferreira, bought art because they thought, gosh, wouldn't it be wonderful to help somebody who's saying something through their art and put that on the wall and ignite debate, ignite conversation, keep people in touch with their country rather than buying imported expensive wallpaper. And what's happened, and that was sort of 45 years ago, what's happened through the years is RMB's ended up with an extraordinary art collection.
Yeah.
But it was not bought for value. It was bought for all sorts of other sincere reasons, knowing that when you have something created by an individual, it sort of exudes an energy that wallpaper can't exude. Do you know what I mean? So we're in the visual arts, we're in, obviously there's some dancing, we've helped a lot of dance programs over time, and that has been through the First Rand Foundation. So, you know, we're a contributor to the creative economy. It just saddens me so often. I think it's such a vital part of South Africa, and it saddens me that it doesn't get more funding from all sorts of quarters. Because, you know, if I think of what we've put in, we've also got so much out of it in the form of goodwill, in the form of optimism. People leave this concert and write letters saying, you know, I feel renewed. I feel I can go out there. It's under the sort of African canopy, under the stars. And people definitely go away with a spring in their step. And hopefully that spring lasts. And often the people on stage, people will see them on stage and say, gosh, we've got a corporate event coming up, and make contact with them. Won't you be in our corporate event? And I do think Starlight Classics has ignited other musical events for corporates. We know of a few of them.
Yes.
They're not the same, and we hope they're never the same. So we're also having to keep that competitive edge going.
Right.
But, yeah, we're a contributor. You know, we've done our best, and we'll continue to do it because we think that the arts deserves it, and we really believe that this country has extraordinary artists across all of the types of art you can imagine, from performance to visual.
Caroline, this has been an absolutely fantastic chat. But before I let you go, remind us very quickly, when is the event happening and how can people access it?
Okay, it's in March, and you can buy tickets, a web ticket, and in fact it's on the 1st and 2nd of March. The 1st being the Friday. See, Vergelegen is quite far out of Cape Town. It's in Somerset West. First on Friday, I think it's almost sold out. There's still tickets on Saturday. There's an invited audience, and then there's a big public audience as well. So if they want tickets for Saturday, they'll have to move quite fast. It does always sell out well in advance of the concert. And then in September, first weekend of September, it's in Johannesburg.
Caroline, thank you so much. That's my guest, Caroline Waterhouse from Rand Merchant Bank, really sharing insights into the upcoming RMB Starlight Classics event. Trust me, you do not want to miss this one.